In lesson 3.5, we're talking about half angle properties. And on the front side of your notes, you've got all these half angle properties that you can use. In example 1, they're giving you cosine of an angle is 15/17, and they're telling you that theta is between 270 and 360, and they're asking you to find sine of half theta, cosine half theta, tangent half theta. So to do the problem, first you want to figure out what quadrant we're talking about. This is talking about quadrant 4 because we're between 270 and 360. But these are asking for half of theta, not theta. So what we want to do is we want to take half of all of this. So take half of this, and that would be, we've got 135 is less than 1/2 theta is less than 180. So now we're talking about quadrant 2. And if we think about quadrant 2, all students take calculus. Sine is what's positive in quadrant 2. So this answer is going to be positive, and these answers are going to be negative because of the quadrant 2. Then they just want you to look at your property and plug in the 15/17 that they gave you. So let's look at sine of 1/2 theta. It's going to be positive because we just said it was in quadrant 2, and its sine is positive in quadrant 2. You have to choose between the plus or the minus. We choose the plus. Then we've got 1/2, 1 minus cosine of x, which they're telling you is 15/17. Okay, so we've got it filled in. Now we just need to evaluate. So we've got plus square root, 1/2. If I get a common denominator for 1, that would be 17/17. Then I can subtract those. Now that they have common denominators, I get 2/17. Then my 2's cancel if you reduce. Then I can do square root of the top, square root of the bottom. Square root of the top is just 1. Square root of the bottom is radical 17. And then we want to move our radical to the top. So if we rationalize, it'll be rad 17 over 17 for the sine. Now, cosine, we just said was negative because sine is what's positive in quadrant 2. So when we look at our cosine property, we're going to choose the negative square root. And then we plug in the cosine that they gave us, 15/17. And again, we're going to want common denominators. So we're going to change that 1 to be 17/17. Then we can add those fractions together. So that's going to be 32/17. We can reduce the inside. If we take a 2 out, that'd be 16/17. We can do square root of the top, square root of the bottom. And now I'm going to have negative 4 over rad 17. And we want to rationalize this and bring the radical to the top. So that's cosine of half theta. And then tangent, we can either use our properties. So we have 3 properties that we can use. We don't know what sine is, so the best one to use is probably this one if you're going to use it. The other thing to do is just to divide the answers because we know tangent is made out of sines and cosines. So tangent of half theta is made out of a sine half theta divided by a cosine half theta. And that's just our quotient rule. Where is it? That's just this right here. Quotient, tangent is sine divided by cosine. The same thing works if there's a little half on the x. So I can just take my answers that I got, which is rad 17/17 for the sine. I can take my negative 4 rad 17 over 17 from my cosine and divide them. When we divide fractions, we have to do that by multiplying by the reciprocal. And in this one, the 17's cancel, and so do the radical 17's. So this is a pretty simple answer of negative 1/4.